Come write a book with me.
Written in these walls are the stories that I can't explain. I leave my heart open, but it stays right here empty for days. She told me in the morning she don't feel the same about us in her bones. Seems to me that when I die, these words will be written on my stone.
Hi, I'm Thomas and I'm an aspiring author. I quite literally thought that I'd had to give up on my dream of becoming an author. Not because I got rejected, not because I can't seem to finish books, not because of any external circumstances, right? I thought I had to give up on my dream of becoming an author because my creativity had run dry. I'm the kind of person, I've had stories in my mind for as long as I can remember, and I've been loving writing those stories for as long as I can remember. Like, I used to be the kind of writer who couldn't finish a project because there were so many different story ideas in my mind that I all wanted to finish at the same time. And then suddenly, nothing. There was not an ounce of creativity inside of me. I really tried writing through that creative block, but for whatever reason, I couldn't outwrite it. Like, there was no going around the fact that I needed to take a break from writing. And I had completely resigned myself to the fact that I just have to figure out something else and that writing just wasn't in the cards for me anymore, and that I would never ever see my name on a published book, ever. So I took a break for a couple of months. Like, my friends in the writing community who I have been active around probably don't know this, because I kept going as if nothing was going on, and I kept making goals and I kept making plans, but in reality, I wasn't writing anything. I'm an incredibly active person. Like, I'm always out and about, I'm always walking, I'm always doing some sort of sport basically, and in the past, whether it was walking, running, working out, whatever, I'd just be plotting and thinking about my characters, thinking about my story. But for the past 6, 7 or 8 months, it was absolute blank up in here. Like, there was not a single story related or creative thought that was going on in my mind, and it was driving me absolutely crazy. So a couple of months ago, I decided, you know what, this just might be a sign from the universe that I need to quit for a moment. This kind of coincided with a palm reading that I'd gotten. The witch who did my palm reading, she told me that there's like this writer's line that some people have in their hand, and I do have that, but she said it was disconnected and that it would probably be best for me to leave writing to the side for the time being and to focus on something else, because chances are anything that I am going to force myself to write right now is not something that I'm actually supposed to be writing, or not something that I'm going to be resonating with, or something that I'm going to want to be publishing once that connection returns, kind of. It was really hard for me because I always identified with being a writer. I've been calling myself an aspiring author for years now. It was a really, really hard pill to swallow, but I thought, you know, with everything that's going on right now, it might be for the better. So I didn't force myself and I just left writing for what it was. And then a couple of weeks ago, one of my cats licked my hand, and for whatever reason, that kind of sparked an idea. Now, me being me, I was like, no, I decided writing isn't for me. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to invest any time and energy into this spark that just lit up in my mind. Throughout the days and over the course of like 2 weeks, the idea kept coming back into my mind, and completely unprompted, a story started building around that spark of an idea, and I didn't want to entertain it. I really did not. But then I thought, you know, why not? Why not entertain this thought? So I went on a walk, and suddenly it was like the floodgates opened and my mind was just being filled with all of these scenarios, all of these characters, all of these ideas. And I was like, this is amazing. I missed this so much. Like, I did not feel like myself these past couple of months, mainly because I didn't have a single creative thought in my mind, and that is something that's been so continuous throughout my life that I was just like, I'm kind of losing myself here right now. So that was kind of where I started getting hopeful again. And I posted a video of this on TikTok where it was like, my creativity is suddenly on again. So I checked my hand, and turns out that like the creative mark that apparently some people have connected again. I don't know what I did. I don't know what happened there, but somehow it sorted itself out and my creativity is back on, and I'm back to writing a book. Now, this time I'm going to be very conscious of doing things differently. In the past, I used to identify as like a pantser, and I very much used to identify as an aspiring YA author. This time around, I decided I'm not going to label it anything. I'm not going to pick a specific age range for this. I'm just going to allow my mind and allow my creativity to just let the story unfold. And like I said, in the past, I very heavily identified as a pantser. Like, I thought that I could not write a book if I outlined it. I no longer believe this, which means that even though I'm not going to be rigorously outlining into the tiniest detail, I am going to start exploring my story by outlining it. So I'm very curious to see how that goes. Over the years, I've done a lot of research around outlining, pantsing, story building, story structure, and I've got a solid idea in mind on how I want to tackle the outline, but I'm also going to use 2 books to help me along with this. I'm going to be using The Anatomy of Story by John Truby, and I'm going to be using Lisa Cron's Story Genius. I'm going to be using John's book mainly for plot-related outlining and stuff, and I'm going to use Lisa's book to really get a better grip on my characters, because world building and plot usually come very easily to me. It's mainly character that I struggle with. I've read Lisa's book and I really love her approach to character building and character design. So I really want to use this to get to know my characters and to figure out how I'm going to incorporate their misbeliefs and their view of the world to drive the story forward. Because even though I've got like my external plot points already pretty much solid, I don't know much about the characters or how they are going to fit into the greater plot of the story. So I'm very curious to figure out how that's going to turn out. John's book I'm going to use for basically the overall structure of the plot of the story itself. What I really like about John's book is that he also goes into how the antagonist is basically the opposite of your protagonist, and that he should be treated as a protagonist in his own right, which means that all the prep work you're going to be doing for your main character, or main characters in my case, you're also going to have to be doing for your antagonist in order to get like a really dynamic story and to ensure that your antagonist or the villain in your story is not like some caricature. Very curious to see how everything's going to turn out. Very excited, but I am at the start of this, which means I'm very much still in the honeymoon phase, and now all it comes down to is building a solid foundation so that I can keep the momentum and keep the consistency going even on days where I don't feel as motivated or as in love with my story. And I've decided to go out today, to go to a cafe and to do some outlining there, to just do some brainstorming, get my ideas down on paper, because a cafe is literally one of my favorite places to write. I don't know what it is about cafes. Maybe it's just like getting out of the house, getting different energies around you. I don't know what it is, but I just really love writing at a cafe. So I'm going to be taking my books with me, my laptop and my notebook, which I bought specifically for this project. I love having like a project specific notebook, and I've already filled pages with ideas yesterday, and I'm going to continue on that note today. Let's get going.
I was scared of dentists and the dark. I was scared of pretty girls and starting conversations. All my friends
As I was rounding off today's writing session at the cafe, I was very much reminded of the theme that is currently very much an undercurrent in all aspects of my life, which is the idea that I don't need to rush through anything. To just be patient, take my time, and allow things to unfold naturally. I'm seeing this in therapy, where all of our sessions are very much spaced out because her schedule is very full, which means that I have to deal with the fact that things aren't going as quickly as I'd like them to. As well as with language learning, because I'm currently learning Korean, and I used to have this approach of all or nothing. Either I cram in as much grammar as I can and as much vocabulary as I can, or I don't do anything at all. And with writing especially, it's very much the idea of I don't need to have the entire story figured out within one session. I don't need to outline this book within a week. I'm allowed to give myself time to think, to ruminate. I'm allowed to give myself time to just let the thought sit and to just allow things to unfold naturally. Because in the past, I tended to try and force things, try to come up with a solution right then and there on the spot. And it would never be quite right. It would never feel like the right thing for the scene. It would never feel like the direction the story was meant to take. And not just within storytelling, but within my life in general, that I thought, I have to make a decision right now, because otherwise I'm just going to be stagnant and I'm going to be stuck here forever. But I don't need to make decisions on a whim. I don't need to make decisions quickly. I'm allowed to think things through, to mull them over, and to just allow them to exist and to be. And a metaphor I kind of like to attach to this is basically the entire concept of like a word being at the tip of your tongue, and the more you try to force it, the more you try to concentrate on what that exact word is that is at the tip of your tongue, you're never going to catch it. But then you forget about it, and then suddenly in the middle of your day, you're like doing your chores, or you're out grocery shopping, or you're doing whatever, you're in a conversation with a friend, and you're not thinking about it at all, but your subconscious is still working at it, right? And then suddenly the word just pops into your mind, and you're like, that was the word. And that is really something that I'm currently seeing in my life, that even with therapy, that I'm having realizations and thoughts I am having because I am basically being forced to have this space in between the sessions. And I wouldn't have come up with those ideas, or I wouldn't have had those thoughts and those revelations had that time period, that space not been there. Even with writing, this story right now is not something that I've ever attempted before. I'm not a sci-fi writer. I never identified myself as a sci-fi writer. But the idea that came to mind is, I wouldn't call it traditional sci-fi, like it's not set in space, but there is a definite alien aspect to it. So it's not something I'm familiar with. It's not something that I've explored before, and it's not YA either, which is also something that I feel very comfortable in. So I really need to allow myself like this breathing room to explore this genre and this age group that is so very foreign to me. And I'm actually really excited. I'm a little scared because I'm used to rushing things. I'm used to just diving straight in and to just keep going until burnout, basically. And now all I'm doing is I am taking one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, and just basically allowing myself to really soak in the experience of it all. There is a definite beauty in that, but it's also definitely outside of my comfort zone. So I'm really curious where it takes me. Like I didn't get very far today with my outline or with the story in general. I've had some good ideas that I'm mulling over, that I'm thinking of maybe we might go in that direction, or maybe I'll take it into a completely different direction, who knows. But I thought today was very successful in terms of just taking things slow and allowing my mind to work around this huge problem that is an entire novel. So yeah, that was my writing day. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in my next video. And if you're interested in following along with my journey, be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment down below. And I hope to see you again in my next video. Bye.